to welcome you guys into the 23rd episode of Trojan Talk. I'm Zach Taranko with Jeff Cushberry today. How you doing?
All right. How are you?
Doing good. So no Cole, as you see today, but we'll get this going. So yesterday, the boys lacrosse team had the first game on TATV. We broadcast. They won 17-3. A really good overall game for TA. Lots of young players getting in goals. Jacob Marcotte had 4 goals. Verano had a few. Just a great overall game, and it was cool to see Cody Ruff for the first time, and he's just dominating, because everybody else in that defense was really short. So it was a good game for TA. They're 3-1. They're moving through, and I think I'm waiting for that Cape Elizabeth game. That's the game I'm looking forward to. But
yeah, it's tough in lacrosse. First of all, just a very typical spring sports day, just completely raw, rainy, gross, terrible. Thankfully, again, when we do spring broadcasts, we're up in the press box, so not out to the elements. So can't complain too much. But the lacrosse season, they're going to have these type of games where you go in, it's 10-0 at halftime. Game's basically over in the first quarter. So you don't learn a whole lot about your star players, but you do learn a little bit about the younger guys and just how they're going to take the physical toll. That really what it comes down to. It's interesting that the lacrosse plays a little shorter schedule than some of the other sports like soccer and field hockey and some of the other spring sports too. So you don't have a whole lot of opportunities. Only 6. I think they only play 12 games total. Like 6 home games, 6 away games. So you want to take advantage of every single one of them. And they're already, I mean, it's weird to think like they're already a quarter of the way through the season. Just playing 3 games. The Cape game, as always, is going to tell a lot of the story. Probably not the story, but coming into the season, I feel like there's some new players. You do have some returners, but this team is on a level now where they have the youth structure set up, and the first team and JV teams are always on the ready and bringing up new talent. So you don't see a big dip coming up from them. Will they? Can they stand up to Cape this year and talk to Coach Hersey? I mean, Cape is good. I mean, they brought back a lot of players from last year's dominating team. TA gets the 4-1 win over Falmouth since the last time we broadcasted. Kind of happy we didn't live stream that game because it's a good win, but it's not the most exciting stuff to watch. And I was talking to Travis Lee from Channel 8 the other day, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, look, I love those games. Whoever's involved in that game, it's great for you. But as far as looking for sports highlights, not exactly the most interesting thing as well. So, good win against a team they should win and a team they should beat. We'll have a couple live streams coming up over the next few weeks as well for boys lacrosse as well. And obviously that Big Cape game is going to tell the big story of the season.
Yeah, I think that's the game I'm looking forward to for this year. So. We'll move to quickly talking about some girls lacrosse. They played on Tuesday, lost to Marshwood 9-7. They are now 1-2 on the season. We were supposed to broadcast on TATV their game this Friday. Unfortunately, that game is, I believe it's just canceled. I believe,
yes. Noble has some busing issues, I guess. So
our next game, I think, will be next Tuesday, May 3rd, is another girls game. I'm not sure who they're playing, but a lot of games next week and moving on through this.
They're playing Massabesic.
Yep, Massabesic. Yeah, so we quickly talk about Isaiah Jones. If you know Isaiah Jones, he a big football player here. He's been one of the most athletic players TA's had on the football team. His brother, you might have remembered, Peyton Jones, played basketball and football as well. He is going down south. I don't remember the prep school he's going to.
South Carolina. I was just trying to look up the name of it. I couldn't find the name, but so he's going to one of the biggest programs in all of South Carolina, and something he's been talking about for a while. And he was interviewed by Travis Lee again at WMTW recently. So big step for him. I mean, it's he definitely would have come in next year as not only the best player on Thornton Academy, but the Fitzpatrick favorite. So it's great for him. I mean, it's one of those things where it sucks for the team, obviously for TA. I mean, we're already going to be losing quite a few players from the undefeated team this year. But you can't fault someone for trying to chase their dreams, like Cooper Flagg and all these other guys, JP Estrella, all these guys that are leaving. But it's a huge leap. I mean, you go from being 100% the best player on your team and probably the best player in the whole state to a team that probably has 6 guys just like him. And it really just goes down to betting on yourself. You're going in your senior year looking for a scholarship to college. You don't want to go down there and sit on the bench. And not saying that's what's going to happen to him, because obviously he works very hard and is just kind of he's a beast. But when you go down into a territory where this is all they do, all these guys play football 24/7. And in the interview I saw, he did talk about how much he liked the fact that it's kind of football all the time there, which is great. Yeah. But that also comes with a big challenge. And when you bet on yourself, sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And obviously, again, it looks like for Cooper Flagg, it's already working out. I mean, he's already ranked number 3 in the whole country for his class.
2025,
and JP Estrella is getting offers from tons of
he just got Illinois the other day, too.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, sometimes you bet on yourself and it works out. So I mean, good luck to him. Obviously, wish he was staying, but understand you want to take that big leap, and the team will be all right. As far as where the positions go, they're still figuring out a lot of some of the skill positions and the line too. The line, the skill position guys get a lot of publicity, but the line this year for TA was one of the big reasons why they went undefeated on both sides of the ball.
All seniors, right? Both sides. So
pretty much.
So
it's going to be a huge change next year. And again, we talked a little bit on the last episode about how the scheduling is going to be different. So we'll be playing a team from New Hampshire, and that could change some things. It's crazy we're already talking about football, but that story just happened to pop up there. So again, good luck to Isaiah, and we'll be following him for sure. And in case anything falls through, we can use you back here for next year.
Like you said, just want to quickly, it's a bigger market down there, and even if it isn't, he doesn't play as many minutes as he would here, it's a better opportunity down there for him to get a scholarship than it is up here, because even if he's the best player in Maine, it's just harder up in here to get the publicity that you want. So,
well, it's the thing though, so you get noticed more when you're at a bigger school like that. But if you're by far the best player in the state, it's such a complex issue, because again, if you're the best player in the state, you get all the publicity, like Maine, but everyone's going to be like, well, you're playing against, no offense, but Edward Little and Lewiston, the teams that our JV team could probably compete with in most years, or just not physically up to the task, or not as fast or strong or as big. So it's interesting. I don't know if this would have happened 10 years ago, when we had like guys like Andrew Libby, some of the really, some of our top players we've ever had, if they would have transferred somewhere else. I mean, a lot of it comes down to the family too. The whole family's moving down there. So, it's a lot of moving parts to it. We'll see how it goes for him. And he doesn't. I don't think he plays any spring sports. Maybe he runs track. I'm not 100%. I know he's run track in the past, but
I don't think he was running track.
Probably anything. Probably just focusing on football. So
now we want to move over to the professional side of our sports talk today. We'll start with the Celtics. I had to rep my jersey. Last time we had an episode, I picked them to win in 5. They won in 4. It's even better.
You were not a believer.
Oh, I'm not the believer, huh? Because this is where we edit in the clip of you and Kobo saying, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Nets in 7." You guys are crazy.
I said Nets in 6.
Celtics win 4-0. They sweep the series. The question I have for you is, have their chances at the finals increased? Chris Middleton's not going to play in the Bucks series, but do you think that series, gives them more, I don't know what you saw, like a better percentage, within the NBA community to think they would win the finals?
Well, I mean, now if completely switched and they're going to win the whole thing. Well, I don't know. They're definitely going to the finals. But will they win it? Like, could they beat Golden State? I don't know. Could they beat Phoenix? I don't know about that. But the East looks weak right now. I mean, everybody talks about how all year it looked great. So I went to game 1, and what's interesting is, if the Nets, which was a fantastic game to watch, by the way, and I'm not the biggest green teamer, but still, it was tough.
Well, game 1 was the best game of the series. Let's be honest.
Honestly, game 3 and 4 kind of stunk. I mean, game 4 stunk until the last few minutes. The series itself is not going to be that memorable, except for the sweep. I mean, game 1 is very memorable. Game 2 was kind of forgettable. But the Celtics were down 17, but that's the NBA. I mean, pretty much every game you get that. So if the Nets win game 1, I don't know what happens in the series. I'm not saying the Nets win after seeing like how it happened, but I don't think it would have been like a 5-game series. I think the Nets would have grabbed another. The Kyrie stuff, I mean, obviously he used that as fuel. And that game 1 was, I've been to a lot of Patriots games that have been very high energy, like vitriol against other players. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, people are just like hate him. And it's really interesting to me, like, maybe it's a hot take, but I don't understand the amount of hate that he gets. Now, I understand that he said that thing, I'm planning to come back next year, and then he didn't, when he was a Celtic. I get the point of, like, he kind of quit in the playoffs. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
First of all, he was only here for, 2 years? Like, a year and a half, really, because he kind of sat out some of the year. And, and that team was kind of – the first one was kind of, screwed anyway because of the injury to
Hayward,
right? So – I understand, not liking him. I understand booing him. But, seriously, they treat this guy like he was Aaron Hernandez that come back from on another team after he killed somebody.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I get, again, I would boo him mercifully, and I did. But, all the stuff people are yelling at him, like like he's a despicable human being. It's like, okay, he's a weirdo. Okay, he's not he's not a great professional athlete.
He's a flat earther.
Exactly, which is like, okay, fine, but like there are also a few 100,000 flat earthers. Not that I support that, but it's just so interesting. Like when you take a step back and you're not like if you weren't a Celtics fan, if you were watching this and it was I don't know, whatever, Bucks, and you'd be like, why do they hate him so much? Like he's an NBA player. A lot of NBA players say they're coming back and don't come back. So in the end, did it affect him? Yeah, I mean, I guess it worked because he's obviously kind of a mental midget, which is like Ben Simmons, which is a whole other story. But when you look at it, I mean, the series itself was a disappointment because I thought it was going to be a good series. Like, okay, yeah, Celtics won, that was great, but I just when I looked at the series, obviously the Celtics have played well for the last few months. Like, there's no doubt about it. But when you look at it, I'm just like, I can't imagine that Kevin Durant. And again, I don't watch many regular season Nets games, but I'm like, it's Kevin Durant. He's the best player. Everybody keeps saying best player on the planet. That was not the best player on the planet that we saw. And don't tell me that it was the Celtics defense 100% because I watched that game 3. I didn't see any game 4 because I was traveling, but game 3 where he did not take a single shot in the last 11 minutes of the game. And don't tell me that was the Celtics defense. He pulled a LeBron, like LeBron does all the time when he sees the series is winding down, he's going to lose, and he defers. He sits in the corner, he defers. It's inexcusable that he didn't take a shot in the last 11 minutes there. So that kind of told the story. Yeah. Looking forward, of course, they're going to kill the Nets. They're going to kill the Bucks.
I see.
Middleton. I mean, it's going to be 4 or 5 games, like maximum, and then they'll go to the conference finals. Could be the Heat or the Sixers. Sixers may not win this series.
I mean, we're going to talk about the Raptors and Sixers.
Seriously, I saw a stat today that blew my mind. But I mean, whether it's the Heat or the Heat are dealing with some injuries as well as the Sixers, so. It's just I don't know. It's so inexplicable how good this team has played. It really is because they have some good players. But the thing is, every single one of their role players is playing the best basketball of their life.
Exactly.
Grant Williams, Daniel Tice, like everybody's coming off the bench. Like this was a game too that Williams was like 13 for 13 shooting. Like he was 9 for 9 and then 4 for 4 from the like when does that happen? So it's just every single one of them and every single one of the stars is playing well. I mean, of course, huge credit. Will they go to the finals? I think that by far the favorites to go to the finals. When you get there, who knows what could happen, but it's incredible.
Yeah, I think not to diminish the Celtics at all because they played fantastic basketball, but the Nets just weren't up to where they were. I think the one thing I saw was like at the end of game 4 when, the Nets are down by like 3 or 4 after that terrible Scott Foster call. Kevin Durant just throwing up terrible threes. Like he was just trying to put it all on his back and he couldn't do it. So, I after that game, the first thing I said was, okay, what does this team do next year? Are they going to blow it up yet? Are they going to wait for Simmons to come back?
The Nets? Oh,
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what they're going to do, but.
No, I don't know. I think what does this series say? Does it say more about the Celtics? Does it say more about the Nets? I mean, only time will tell. But I think everybody right now in New England is just like I am. Like, oh, this team's the best team in the NBA. Yeah. And they're going to the finals. What happens if we go out and lose the first 2 against Milwaukee, which is totally possible? Then, I mean, what happens if we lose that series to Milwaukee in 6 or 7 games? Let's just not call, like we don't get embarrassed, but 6 or 7 games. What's the narrative then here? Well, then it's still another second round exit. What the heck happened?
People are going to say what they were saying at
was
the
it
beginning.
A fluke?
Yep, where they were like, oh, this team's terrible. They can never do it. It was just,
right. A fluky, a good half season, and then a sweep against a really terrible mentally weak team. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Did you see, by the way, one quick thing before we move on to Jason Tatum, this schedule that came out for the Bucks series? So they start on Sunday, then they play Tuesday, and then they play Saturday. So 4 days off, three full days off between these 2 games. The NBA is trying to stretch it out. A lot of people are saying because they want Middleton to come back, but they just want these. It only helps players to go into June
so, with Rob Williams,
of course.
But
it's like, come on now, like how do you get any kind of flow when you have 3 full days between games? It's silly.
All right. Well, now we're going to talk about some Jason Tatum, some stats, and some talk. I saw this on Twitter. People were talking about this and debating this. Is Jason Tatum the best player in the NBA right now? That only really accounts the playoff teams, looking at the people who are actually playing right now. Do you think he's the best player?
No. I say he's in the top 3 or 4. I put in Ja Morant in there. I mean, that's like the best in-game dunk I've ever seen. And Steph Curry. Steph Curry is on another planet right now. I saw him last night. I mean, he's just got that look in his eye. No, I don't think this. I think there's really top 5 as I talked about. You got Morant, you got Tatum, you got Curry, Embiid still playing very well. Yep. And I'd throw in. So you haven't seen many of the Western Conference stuff because they don't start.
It's been hard because it was a lot of Devin Booker. He got hurt. Chris Paul had 1 good game, so like it's
it's tough. I mean, Tatum, I could see an argument where he's the best player, but I don't think it's just because of one series. It hasn't. For me, it hasn't. I don't look back at that Nets series and be like, oh my gosh, this was Jason Tatum's coming out party as the best player in the NBA.
Yeah,
I think it was a team effort. So I mean, he was playing great. There's no question about it.
Yep.
There hasn't been yet a game where he's like, all right, get on my back. I'm scoring 45, and I'm going to win this game on the road in a tough environment, which Brooklyn is not a tough environment.
Yeah, it was
when you get stupid Spike Lee there and his Brooklyn stuff in the front row. Knicks fan, but.
We're talking about the 76ers now. So Raptors forced a Game 6. That Game 6 is tonight. And there's only ever been, I think, 14 teams ever to force a Game 6. Only 3 to ever force a Game 7 after being down 3-0.
And they all lost.
And 0 has never, ever come back. If you don't know, the 76ers have choked basically every series in the last few years. They've have had great teams. Are they choking this series? And do you think that they can go in Game 6 to Toronto and beat Toronto in their home?
No. And I mean, I can't believe that this could be the one. This could be finally the one, and it comes down to Doc Rivers. I mean, I heard the stat on WEEI this morning coming in that Doc Rivers has the NBA record as a coach for most series that he's lost up 3-1. He's lost like 3 series up 3-1 in his career, and he also has lost the most clinching games in the history of the NBA, like where his team could clinch going to the next round.
Oh my God.
So I don't know. I mean, I saw Game 4 and they had the Scott Foster effect in Game 4 that got them back in the series. I just think I don't think they win tonight. I think they win Game 7 though in Philly. I just can't imagine. There's just too much talent on that team to lose to Toronto. But
it's what Toronto has, because I know Fred VanVleet didn't play in Game 5 and they still won. And then I don't know if he's going to play tonight, but he's been the backbone of that team because Siakam's been up and down, and Scotty Barnes is like he's still a rookie. You don't know who he's going to be. But I don't know.
It's tough. It's an interesting series, at least, because most of these other series are basically over. A lot of these, pretty much every series is going 5 games, except for there'll be a few that go 6 or 7 maybe. Yeah. But it's been an interesting playoffs so far. I mean, it's the injuries are playing a huge factor in all these teams. The Suns, everybody thought Suns Warriors would be kind of the way to go to the NBA Finals, but without Booker, Suns don't look as great either.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to talk about some of the West Coast teams. As you said, Devin Booker got an injury. The Grizzlies were struggling against the T-Wolves. So right now the series, Memphis is leading the T-Wolves 3-2, and the Suns are leading the Pelicans 3-2. If one of those teams, if you had your crystal ball in front of you and it said one of those temes, the lower seeds, so the T-Wolves or the Pelicans are going to win, who do you think would upset?
Oh, I think the T-Wolves for sure. I don't see the Suns losing that series, but the T-Wolves, they have like Karl-Anthony Towns, who again, is one of these players that I would love to see in the Celtics green. I think he's a stud, but out there, he's basically Kevin Garnett, 2.0.
Yeah.
That eventually he's going to be like, look, guys, I've been here for 10 years and we're not winning anything. I guess the most interesting thing about that series has been all these protesters that have come on the court. I don't know if you've seen this, but
I saw one of them. Wasn't it animal?
It's been 3 of them.
Animal rights protester?
Yes. Yeah. So there was one that glued her hand to the floor. There's one who chained herself to the basket. And the third one, which was most interesting, was they rushed the court, but the security kind of knew it was happening. And so the security person was sitting like three seats down, and literally looking right at this woman. And then when she got on the court, they got her before she even got like more than 2 steps, and they arrested her. So it's been more fascinating.
What is this for? What is the
protesting
for?
So the owner of the Grizzlies, whose name's escaping me, his last name's Grant.
Does he own a big farm?
Well, so basically he has a chicken farm, and like he had like 5 million chickens who got bird flu, and so he destroyed them. By burning them alive or whatever, but I don't know. It's one of those things where like, who knows how they really kill chickens? Like, it's just such a silly place to do that, because it's not helping your cause, because people look at it and be like, wow, you're crazy. There's got to be other ways to protest.
Everybody went there as watching basketball.
Yeah.
No one's there going and saying, oh, we hate the Grizzlies
owner. I know. So it's just an interesting thing. Now, it hasn't happened the last game or 2, but it happened the first 3 games, and it interrupted the court. But they're getting better at getting it out there quickly. But
the security must be like this giant ring around.
Yeah,
the
it was good tackle too by the security person. So yeah, I think Suns wrap it up here on the road, but I could see the T-Wolves forcing a 7 and maybe getting that win.
Well, Game 5 was John Morant hit like a floater in the last second of the game.
Yeah, the crazy dunk in the floater.
It's been close. I mean, I think that Grizzlies team is deeper, has a deeper roster right now than the Celtics. I've just seen a lot of guys come off the bench and play really well, but they don't have any standouts because John Morant isn't playing his best basketball right now in the playoffs. But Tatum and Brown have been taking over, and that's why like a team like the Celtics, who are so deep, just look so great. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, we're going to talk about the Bruins real quick. If you haven't been following them, the last 10, 15 games, they're 0-36 in the power play.
Is that for real?
Yep. Yes. So here's the stat. So it's they're 0-36 in the power play, for about 8 to 10 games they were missing Pastrnak, who's their best power play guy, but they're not just losing games here. They're like they've won 5 out of the last 6. They've won I don't know. They have a winning record. They're doing great. And so my question for you is going into the playoffs. If you never watched hockey, I bet you probably watch a little bit.
Oh yeah.
They don't call anything. They let everybody play through big hits. That's what the whole point.
Right.
Does a stat like that matter if Boston, they're scoring, even strength 5-on-5 goals against good teams? The power play's been terrible, but do you think that really matters that much going into the playoffs?
I mean, certainly if they continue to do that, you want to take advantage of the few opportunities you do have in the playoffs. Yeah. But I mean, it's got to be one of those things where the odds are they're going to turn it around, right? It's not. Yeah. If they're healthy and everyone's back, I mean, at some point they're going to start scoring goals in the power play. It's just the odds and the gods will make it happen. So I think it's one of those things. Once they score 1, they'll probably score 3 in a game.
Yep.
And then that'll be that. So if they're scoring goals otherwise, it's. But as you said, there's so few opportunities in the playoffs, and for me, the penalty kill is more important than the power play anyway. Yep. So as long as that's working fine, I mean, the Bruins are so tough to predict this year. Like this could be a team that goes to the Stanley Cup, or they could be out in the first or second round. I mean, it's just it's how they've been the last 5 or 6 years in this cycle since the Blues series. Just to be like, okay, well, they have the same group basically, and they're playing well at some times, and how's it going to turn out? So all comes down to the goalies. And who do you think is going to start game 1?
So they decided it's Omar.
Okay.
So I think the reasoning behind that is he's a little more experienced than Swayman. Both of them haven't had really any playoff experience, but Omar is on a streak right now, and that's the whole thing. One of the biggest parts of a playoffs run is you got to have a goalie that's on a hot streak, and because it's not just about the players at that point. And Omar has been playing great, even though he's giving up a couple goals a game. It's some really good.
That's going to be the issue more than the power play. Is like what happens if one of them has a bad game or 2 in a row, then you switch it up, and then that guy has a bad game, and that guy's. Yeah. I mean, you got to trust the coach to understand that, and the locker room to understand that too. But I can see that as a little issue.
Well, before we get to the 4th week of Pick the Winners, I want to ask you a quick question. I know we're obviously going to be on either side of this question, but what trophy is more historic, the Stanley Cup or the Lombardi Trophy?
It's a Stanley Cup, 100%.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say Lombardi Trophy.
No.
Okay, good,
the Stanley Cup is not only historic; it's the best trophy in sports.
Yes,
I can't think. I mean, there's a couple others that are up there. I think the Lombardi Trophy's overrated in terms of it's a tiny little thing, not cool. I've seen them in person when I've been at Patriots Place in the Hall of Fame, and it wasn't like, wow, look at these things. It was like, that's cool. No, the Stanley Cup is amazing. The way they celebrate it, the way that all the names are inscripted on there, the way they carried it around there. I've never seen one in real life, but it looks huge.
I went to the Hockey Hall of Fame once in Toronto.
Okay.
I don't know. It might have been like a replica, but
they have a few replicas. That's how they do the whole.
It's huge, yeah.
I think. Historic is an interesting term. Like, if I'm saying what's the most historic trophy, I'd probably go for one of these that's like the Kentucky Derby Trophy or something like that. That's been around for over 100 years.
I meant which one is like the most like pristine. Like when you say this is the trophy.
Stanley Cup, 100%. Because you don't, and I mean, if you look at the 4 major sports, by far the least is the baseball trophy. Like, you know what the name of it is?
No,
it's like the commissioner something. I don't. It's like named after commissioner. Then you have the Larry O'Brien Trophy in basketball, which it's okay.
What does it even look like?
It basically looks like it's like the Lombardi Trophy, but it has basketball on top instead. So it's again not very impressive either. Yeah. And then of course the Stanley Cup on top. So I mean I like the World Cup. Also like the Champions League trophy. They call it Big Ears because it's this massive trophy with these 2 huge handles on the side. Yeah. That's a historic trophy too. But yeah, Stanley Cup, it's just the coolest looking one. Yeah. And obviously all the crazy stuff that they do with that thing. Yeah. When everybody, because it came to Biddeford when Brian Dumoulin won. Yep. At least one of his Stanley Cups.
Stanley Cups, yeah. All right. So we'll
surprise you sometimes, right?
I know, right? Well, I thought, you're a football guy. You might go Lombardi.
No, I respect the Stanley Cup. That's where I cross over.
All right. So we'll do pick the winners pretty quick. We won't have Cole this week, so he'll stay at the 4-11.
We'll take his picks after the fact, and we'll update next week.
Standings: I'm 11-4. I went 5-0 last week. Just giving myself a little credit there. You are 8-7, and Cole is 4-11. We got a couple games. We'll start with Game 6 today. The Mavericks at the Jazz. Mavs are up 3-2 in the series.
Okay, so now I'm feeling more comfortable with some of these picks because I've seen these teams play a little bit more and seen it. So Mavs Jazz. I am gonna go with the Mavs. I think they close it out.
Okay, I agree. I think the Mavs close it out. I don't know. I think Donovan Mitchell is day-to-day.
Yes, day-to-day,
Not sure. Okay, the next Game 6 is the Suns at the Pelicans. Again, Suns lead 3-2.
Suns close it out.
Yep, I'm going to agree as well. I think Cole has changed his – Cole was betting against us.
He was,
and he was losing those games, so he might go.
That's why he won 3 games last week because he agreed to that for most of them.
All right, Game 6, 76ers at Raptors. Philly up 3-2.
Raptors.
You know what? I've decided, while listening to you talk about them, I've decided I'm going to go 76ers.
Okay, 'cause I will say this. I mean, that's not a terrible pick because I have heard, because all the stuff is coming up now, Doc Rivers is pissed. Like, he's in his press conferences, he's been like, judge me on my career, not on,
Yep.
So I could see them coming out today. I think if they win, it's going to be a blowout. I think they could either come on Toronto, win by 25 or 30, or it's going to be Toronto. Yeah.
All right, and then this is one of our hockey games this week. We have the Washington Capitals at the New York Rangers. The Capitals are fighting to get the third spot in the Metropolitan. Rangers have a good team. It's the last game of the season. It'll be a primetime game.
Where are the Rangers at in the playoffs?
So
roughly.
They're second.
Are they set in stone?
They can't move up and they can't move down.
Give me the Rangers.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Capitals because
I'm telling your dad.
And the reasoning is they're going to sit their players. I'll let you change your pick right now if you want.
No, okay. Sticking with the Rangers.
And then I was gonna give Cole the opportunity for double points here. I guess we'll still do it.
It still won't catch me, but
the reason I do double points for the baseball is because they play every day.
Yeah,
it doesn't
true,
matter. So
true.
Red Sox at the Blue Jays today. So you can go double or nothing, or you can. How about this?
I can bet my other wins or something.
You can bet extra, or you can just say, you know what, I'll just take the one, or I'll
just take the one, and I'm gonna go Red Sox. I think Red Sox just obliterate them after because Alex Cora is back now. So.
Well, that's going to do it for the 23rd episode of Trojan Talk, and we will see you all next week.